Hey, this is Guff here, and I wanted to break in here before you start listening to this podcast. We've done 100 plus podcasts. We've done a lot, and most of it we talk about games and things we love. And this one, if I had you to pick out one that I wanted you to listen to, this one and another one, which we're going to re-record, but this one, this kind of gives you an idea who we are. This gives you, the listener, a little insight into how we started at A, got to point B, and working on point C. This is an important episode.
Hi, and welcome back to Guff Stuff Weekly Podcast. I'm Javan.
And I'm Guff.
And today, Guff knows what we're talking about today.
I do.
And so I'll start with a question for you, Guff.
Sure.
If you were to define, in the context of Guff Stuff Store and our Discord and our general interaction with people, we'll say our community.
Yep.
What does community, what would be a good, one or two sentence definition of community in your eyes?
Man. Oh, okay. Well, every time I get asked this, I'm going to answer it differently. So
That's fine.
Community is, for me, it might be more than two sentences, but it's literally a place to go to have something in common with people, but yet I don't want to use the word safe space because that's been abused. Mm-hmm. But it's literally that in its nutshell. It's just a place where you go and feel comfortable playing with people around you and having none of the craziness go along with it.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's what community is for me.
So that's pretty similar to what I would say. I think what I have always kind of told people, what gaming community is,
right,
is it's a judgment-free zone,
right,
where you can interact with people with similar interests.
Yeah. Well,
which is basically exactly what you said.
So yours is much nicer.
Our definition's pretty close.
Yeah, I just have a different way of getting to it than you did.
Totally fine, though.
Yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about a community is that you could have different.
Exactly.
Oh wow! Look at that. We're meta already.
Holy crap! Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about it a little bit then, about this specific community. So in general, it's a place that people with similar interests can go. It's also a place, like the game store, your local game stores,
right,
to me have always been a place where you can bring something that you're interested in and share it with people. You might not have a shared interest in that specific thing, but I could bring it and be like, hey, check this game out.
Yeah.
And put it on the table, and people are like, okay, and then we'll play it. And then they're like, oh, we love this game.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I have, no. I know there's one player specifically that has broken through so many times just because of that. And that would be Gamer Joe.
Gamer Joe.
There's a guy who one of his friends, I'll use his name, Father Storm.
Oh, yep.
One of his friends, Torvald the Terrible, used to come in here back years ago, and he was very. I'm not talking negative. I'm talking. He was very narrow.
Non-committal, I think would be
non-committal, and he was very narrow-minded of what he was willing to play.
Yep.
And he didn't want to play Magic because it was too complicated, too much stuff going on. He didn't want to play most things. The only thing he was really willing to try was D&D because he'd been familiar with it. He knew what it was. And over the years, I've seen so many people bring stuff in here. Nope, I'm not doing it. And then all of a sudden, he's so far into it. I love this. Why did I not play this?
How come no one told me about this?
It's that's a lot of community there, man. That is really that's a very good. Yes, that's very good. I can't believe I didn't think of that before.
Yeah, and the thing too is it's interesting because for the online community, it's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have so many people being let's play this, let's do this, let's do this, that it's almost like you get whiplash.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe we are the narrow-minded ones in the online community because we won't play everything.
Right.
you know. But it's
No.
also like there's just it's so much more accessible. It's so much quicker.
Yeah. I think part of this is something we're going to get to is curating the communities. But part of what we're doing, at least what I do, and I'm assuming you're going down the same road, is when we first part of the Discord, like I tried to be involved in every game somebody wanted to play.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I wanted the community to be interactive.
Yep. Lead by example.
Yeah, lead by example. You know, like, hey, if Guff does it, and, you know, Scar does it, and Winklebot does it, that's kind of important because there were 3 community leaders, essentially, and Lister. But if they do it, then, hey, you know, that's got to be cool, right? Because they're the guys who created all this, right? And then you don't have enough time to do all of it.
And you burn out.
Yeah, and so it got to the same thing that we did in the store here. Instead of playing every single week, instead of playing Blades of the Dark every week, at some point I just made a rule that we're only going to do every other week. Like, even new DMs come in and they want to play, I'm like, hey, every other week.
Yep.
You know, I had Tonto come in and he's like, I want to start a game, Lancer. I said, okay. He says, but I think we're going to do it like every week for, you know, probably 5-6 months. I not happening. Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
But why? I said, dude, if it's going to be every week for 4 weeks, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's literally that short term, but no, if it's going to be, because my experience tells me that if you want to keep your community healthy, you can't do that. Like, you think you can, but you can't, because this is not WoW. You know, this is literally, you have to just kind of break it up so people don't burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And since we started that, probably 2018-ish, I think, so when we started doing that, we've had games, some RPGs go on for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, all the way to 2024. And then, it was earlier than that, because I'm thinking 2016? I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
I think it's right after I moved, which would have been about 2016, 2017.
Yeah, it's like we had some really long-term games. And even now, like, it saves, like, if somebody's playing on, say, a Saturday, you have a Saturday group playing, say, Only War, and then for a long time we had another group playing Cyberpunk or another, you know, just whatever. It just works out so smooth. And it's not always the same players. So
yeah, and that's kind of the nice thing, too. We'll come back to that thought. Yeah. We'll come back to that idea.
I know I kind of went off on a ramble.
That's totally fine. It is part of the community, and the reason. So let's tie it together of like why it matters.
Yeah.
And so the reason you do that is because if you're only running every other week, that leaves a week open for your scheduling. Because like we're a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
And so we have an event space, and that event space can host one event basically.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is when you have a free week every other week,
right?
You're not just saying to new people that come in, hey, you can't play because we have enough players in this game.
Right.
But there's a free week,
right,
day open or whatever. Guess what? Now we have a day that we can schedule random things.
Yeah.
And so it helps grow the community by people coming in the door, because there's nothing more frustrating than coming into a local game store and people are playing a game and they just won't talk to you because they're busy playing the game.
Right. Right. Yeah, no,
it's the idea of having a space to play games, but also a space that invites gamers.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of what drove the foundation of the community that we've built here.
Right.
Was like we had this place that people could go to play, but if you weren't kind of part of the group, it was so hard to like kind of muscle your way in and even play a game because there were so many players.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And now kind of like partitioning it or separating out the groups,
right,
and like not having to be in everything as one person,
right,
makes it so that with these like fractures that happen, you don't have one person like integrated into everything.
No.
It builds a stronger sense of community because now you don't have, you still have your pillars of the community.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
There's not a single post that everything is built around.
Right. Yeah. So like, I spent most of the last year sick and not feeling well and not wanting to be part of like pretty much anything. I mean, now I shouldn't say want. I just physically, mentally couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness, because we have a good community, because I didn't have to.
Yeah,
like our games didn't stop playing.
Things just kept on going.
Just kept trudging along. Like that's ideal. That's so,
autonomy in
the community.
In the
is
community.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect. And so with the creation of the community that we've worked on over these years, and I can say we, because even if you didn't personally look at it back in 2012-ish, 13, as like your project, your group was a core part of that project.
Well, I always looked at it as a project, like the whole time. The whole time I'm like, I want to build a community. Yep. You were, I want to build a store.
Yep.
And I want to build a community.
Right.
And then we kind of married those two together. And then I moved, and you basically just took over all of it.
Yeah. Well,
and not, when I say take over, I mean like you fostered all of it.
Yeah.
Not like you like took over and controlled.
No.
You fostered the development of everything alongside the other members. And I said I was interested in this, but there were a bunch of us.
There was a group of you.
It's not just me.
Right.
Like I want to say out of the core group, there was probably 4 or 5
that really just,
with one more that's still over there, and then you.
Yep.
So probably 7 people.
Yeah.
7, maybe 8 people that were extraordinarily interested in not just playing games, but building a community.
Yeah.
Building a network of gamers.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people 20-year-old me would still be doing this exact same thing. Probably back in Warwood, because that's where I would have started, because that's where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a place to do this at.
Yeah. Or the means to have a space to do it.
The means where I could have built a community, I'd have been the same exact person that you were. I'd have been like, hey, we're all going to play here, because it was hard to get groups of players together in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Well, you're at someone's house usually.
Yeah, and then someone's got to be responsible for cleanup. And then what? Well, then like with me, some of our gamers got older, had kids. Well, you have babies now. Like literally one of my core groups when in college, my best friend had producing children that they weren't my children, but they were her husband's children. But just to clarify, that's a lot to work around.
Yeah.
And none of us want to give up that community.
And the other thing, too, that's difficult about that is, like, let's say that's the person that's hosting.
Yeah.
Now there's kids at the house.
Yeah.
And there's this idea that gaming in our community is a hobby that you go to. Work should not be included. We go here to have fun.
Right.
That's the whole premise. That's why we don't care how you identify, who you are, what political party you belong to.
Right.
We don't care about any of that.
No.
That literally doesn't matter. You leave that at the door.
Yeah.
Now, when we become very good friends and we banter and, chide each other back and forth,
right,
that's fine.
Yeah, well, there's a time and a place.
There's a time and a place.
And you got to read the room.
But when people are playing games, it has always been about the game.
Yeah, it needs to be.
And so when you have, and I'm not knocking children or anything, but like children require attention.
Yeah, they need
to be like
fed and clothed and bathed.
If you're playing at someone's house and their baby starts crying, they have to go help the baby. You have to.
That's how that works, yeah.
And so there's this idea of like having a space that's separate that you can kind of go and just decompress a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be an escape.
No.
Like you still have your obligations.
Oh yeah, no, you still get to go home and deal with your stuff, yeah.
But while you're here, you can kind of just play a game and unwind and have fun.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of this place.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And fostering that community and fostering the understanding. Let's go into that a little bit.
Yep.
Fostering the understanding that anybody could walk through that door, and that judgment-free zone, or the inclusive space, or the safe space, however you want to put it. We don't even need to advertise it. Like, it doesn't even need to be talked about because it's just inherently part of what we are. We don't have to tell people that it's a safe space. We can if they're worried about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's been some people who are very shy.
Yeah.
And we're like, you could be whoever you want to be in here.
Yeah.
We literally play games where you pretend to be somebody for 4 hours.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Yeah, what more do you say on that? Huh?
Yeah, like
that's literally what it is.
Literally what we do. We play games where you pretend to be a wizard and sling spells at each other through creatures and
whether it's tabletop role playing or a card
Magic
game
the Gathering. Yeah, anything. It's like you are being someone else while you are here for the purpose of having fun.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
over the years we've had everybody from, the grocery store employee to
ex-Marines
who
work at a factory.
Yeah, factories to the heavy equipment mechanics, guys you would not expect.
Yeah, diesel mechanics.
Like the
to people that work on neural networks.
Yeah, just literally
everything.
It's all the same. It doesn't matter. What you get here is just the same.
Yep.
Because it's about whatever's on the table.
Yep.
Which is really ideal. It's really ideal. And I think it's, like, for me, the biggest thing was just, my biggest thing absolutely is not, some people think it's money, but it's absolutely not. I should be at times, for sure, because I would never have to worry about it, but it's not. My biggest thing is to make sure that those people that want to be involved in this kind of stuff are not, I don't want to say shunned or outcast, because we don't really, it's not that, in the 80s, 90s, that's what it was, but it's not so much of that now, but it's definitely not what you come to Orozo, Minnesota for.
Yeah.
Or the northern Minnesota. You come to northern Minnesota to go ice fishing, to go hunting, to snowmobile, to do all that stuff. Nobody comes up here to go, oh, there's a game store up here. Although, I have noticed, everybody is shocked there's a game store up here, and they love it.
Yeah, they'll come in and be like, oh, I didn't know there was a game store here.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
It's amazing. And so just that idea that we can help foster that type of community for those people that are not necessarily, or just that want something. Like, I know you hunt and I know you do all this stuff and you like doing that stuff, but I also know that you have other itches that need to be scratched.
Yeah.
Because the brain isn't just so simple that one thing can take care of it, right? Unless you're got some kind of narrow, straight vision thing going on. So this scratched a lot of itches, man.
Yeah, and it's great because I've also, like, I've made lifelong friends through the gaming community.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, there are people who I've met gaming in real life and online and stuff who I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna be lifelong friends with. Like, it's just, like the one guy, it's been like 7 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, it's literally like we've been hanging out on Twitch platform for 7 years. I'm like, what? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. We're invested in each other's, lives, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And another example of that's kind of funny because my daughter, she started in here, so 2012, she would have been 10 years old.
Yeah.
Or no, 8 years old. Sorry.
Yeah.
So she's 20 now, and one of her best friends, they met on this game called Club Penguin, and at that time, me and my wife were like, "Gosh, should we like." My son, he's considerably older. He's 10 years older than my daughter. So he'd already been online towards, but he's a 15, 16, 17, 18, he's a little older. And so we had a lot of conversations about, should we let our daughter have these people online and hang out with these people in this game? But the game was very well curated by the company. And, there was a lot, they had code words to get past some of the filters, mind you. But some of those players that she was with back then are like, this is the lifelong friend thing, because you've even met some of them, whether it's Point or Tiger. Like, Tiger just feels like family. For me, it's just like, I talk to Tiger, it's just like I'm talking to one of my kids, because I've just been around. So, and it's only because I've had so many interactions with her through different games, and it's not like I'm talking to her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Katie's been with her, or Scar, or whatever. My daughter's been with her so much that it'd be no different than, say, you and, the big guy. It's just one of those people that just always there.
A great example of this too is like, I see people up at like the grocery store or at one of the gas stations, whom I was very good friends with their kids in school.
Right.
You know, like they were like childhood classmates and friends of mine.
Right.
And it's funny because when I talk to those people, the parents of those kids, they still have a genuine interest in like how I'm doing what I'm doing. It's like I'm by extension kind of
you're just part of their family.
Kind of like part of the family.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like I always make a joke of like one of the gamers in our community, L.G.S Pimp.
Yeah.
His mom, I will call her mom. Like she's my second mom.
Right.
Like
it's just that's just natural, right?
Yeah, and there's many cases of that.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like we can kind of roll into the online portion of this now too, since we're talking about it.
Yeah. That's perfect.
We started fostering a Discord community, kind of in parallel with the
in-gaming
brick and mortar one.
Yeah, the brick.
And it's been very exciting for me because people who I only know through online are now interacting with people whom I interact with in real life.
Yeah, right.
Online, you know what I mean? Like, and it's really wholesome to see that.
Yeah.
And like to have that camaraderie and that community.
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. Because most of you met not most of the listeners, but most of the people in the store have met my real life best friend. He comes up here once every few years and spends a week or two, but it's usually he just sits in the store while he's working and hangs out.
Yeah.
So you guys have all met him, but like we'll use Tiger again. Like you guys started meeting her, and that's like really cool that she's meeting like y'all get along with her. That's the crazy part. You're like, I was a little worried because she's a little bit of a loose cannon at times. But she's it's so cool to see the online friends and the reality friends, you know, the IRL friends meshing and not like hating because, well, one, the community is working.
It's kind of affirming too, right?
Yeah,
it's like affirming that, you made the right choices with who you chose to interact with.
Yeah, no, it's like we were talking earlier before the podcast. While we're recording another one, but you were talking how we kind of curate the players that we want to, or just to see if they're going to fit in with, say, the Guff Stuff community. Yeah, you know, there's some people that are just like, wow, they're not the right kind of people for this particular community because one, they're maybe all they do is play Minecraft and are not interested in anything else. That's just all they've done for 30 years, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. That's perfect. But then you have all those loose guys, and I'll use Gen Fear.
Yep.
He's kind of one of those guys that's kind of a loose cannon. That he seems like he's pretty cool. I played with him a few times. But it's like he knows he has a community. I've been on a game by myself, and I'll get a private message from him, hey, want another player?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know who you are, but sure, let's do it, you know, because like you brought him over. I'm like, okay, well, if Winklebot or Javan says he's cool, then I'm going to just give him World because that's what community is about.
Yeah, and it's about like, yeah, exactly. It's almost like a review, like a peer review of like interacting with people.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I know over the years I've just learned to trust, whether it's you or even Lister or any of those people that have brought their friends over to the community, that I could probably trust those players.
Yeah, and that there's
without much worry.
And that's a big thing. Let's go into a little bit of like kind of how we made these communities and like how we curate them. So kind of the ground floor level, in my opinion, of starting a community is the vetting system. Yeah. Like the peer vetting system. Yep. And you just talked about this.
Yep.
So we'll do the online example first.
Yep.
My buddy Jen, who I invited.
Yep.
Nobody in that Discord knew him other than me.
No, you were literally the only one.
But because you and I have gamed together for so long, even if we didn't know each other, right? In real life.
Yep.
You and I have played games together for 5 years. We enjoy each other's gaming. And I'm like, hey, my friend whom you've never met plays this game. I think he'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
And because we have that sense of community with each other, now I can share and give you a branch between you two.
Right.
And you can interact when I'm not even there.
Absolutely.
And like that's the whole point of these communities, and that's the best entry point in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Heck
Hey, my buddy is hanging out, whom I'm hanging out with. You know, I'm hanging out with this guy, but I have D&D later tonight.
Yep.
Oh, well, invite your buddy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Buddy shows up, starts playing, becomes a regular.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly.
That's kind of how we did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially online.
Yeah.
So brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Like
it's the same concept.
it kind of follows a similar concept.
You know, I know Storm brought in a couple people over the years. He brought in Rude.
Yep.
And he brought in Lundy.
Yep.
Or Torvald. Even though Storm was never here as much as they were, it's just that that social contract was fine, and so we knew that it was fine. You know,
we brought up a fun word here. So we have the framework of like how to
Yep.
bring people in. What happens when someone gets brought in who isn't a good fit for the community or who is detrimental to the community?
Yeah.
You talked about social contract.
Yeah.
So we've talked to it. I think we have a whole podcast episode on the social contract.
Yep.
And if not, gamer etiquette is what it's
Gamer
called.
etiquette. Yeah. Social contract, gamer etiquette kind of goes hand in hand.
But it's this idea that like a great example of a social contract is when you go into the grocery store, you show up clothed with shoes on. And
usually.
You shop.
Yeah.
And you pay for your items and you leave.
Yeah.
Well, as with all social contracts, that is common knowledge. Like that is you appear to the societal norms.
Yeah.
Gaming culture, gaming community is the exact same way. But you're always going to have someone who walks in without shoes on and who isn't even wearing a shirt and just walks around the store.
Yeah.
And it's like, now guess what? We have to do what? We have to put up a sign that says no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Yeah, because we had to,
the only reason you had to put up a sign is because someone ignored the first rule. And what's the first rule of your store?
Don't be a dick.
Someone was a dick, and guess what? Now we have to put a sign up that says, don't be a dick in this way.
Yeah.
You have to give an example.
Yeah, no, that's dead on.
And so, and I guess dealing with problem players, we have a whole episode on that too, but we'll just kind of touch on these again.
Yep.
A great example with the community aspect of it and how it relates to community is, like, let's say someone's a bad example for Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Like I had a player who's a very good friend of mine who was just awful at Dungeons and Dragons as a player. Not that they were bad at the game.
Right.
But they'd make a character, they wouldn't be happy with the character, and they'd say, well, I'm just not having fun. I need to make a different character.
Yeah.
And then they'd spend the half of the session making a character over on a table, and then they'd show up, do their little quirk that the character was built for, and then be like, oh, well, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. And then they make a new character. I've seen this, I don't know how many times, and it's why I always tell people, like, don't play a mute character. Don't play some character that just relies on a gimmick, because after a certain amount of time, you're going to get bored.
Right.
At everyone else's expense.
Yeah.
I told that player, maybe D&D isn't the right game for you.
Right.
Showed him Magic. Was the right game, because now he could build a new deck every time he plays.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yes, you can. That's the bonus of Magic. Is that?
And so it was the idea that I wanted them to be in the community, but I knew that this activity specifically wasn't right for them.
Right.
And that's part of being one of what I like to call well, not just me, but in my opinion, the definition of a pillar of the community
Right.
is someone who can social engineer people to have fun. Like, I can help you figure out how to have fun.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And I might just be in a lot of different things, and people want to play games with you or whatever because you're good at getting people to have fun.
Right.
And that's one of the, like, foundational pieces
And you read instructions.
of the pillar. Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I mean, you're the rules guy. You can read the rules, and
Although
I think you pretty much hate it, but I think
it's funny.
you're the one that gets designated.
If I don't get designated, though, like when I sit down at the game and I'm like, okay, do you guys want me to read the rules? And someone's like, no, that's fine. I will do nothing with the rules. I will be like, you tell me how it works.
Right.
Because I'm not the rules guy.
Right.
But I try to do that too as like you're in charge. Like you're running the game. Even if it's not right, I don't care. Like if this is your interpretation of the rules, fine. I'm cool with that.
Right. As long as that's what we're playing.
As long as that's the consistent way we're playing.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyways, so that was the quote unquote problem player. Do you have any comments on that? I know I was pretty
No. You're right. The problem player can be definitely an issue, and over the years, it's thankfully it's not happened a ton here. Like sometimes it's just like you said, just getting that problem player to go to another game. That's not like the guy who has no attention span for role playing, or wants to remake a new character. You can't do that in role playing. That's just it's a drag on everybody. It's a drag on the DM. It's a drag on the players that are with you. But Magic, you can remake a deck every single week. You can, or even 3 times a day if you want. It doesn't matter.
What's the phrase we've been beating our head against the wall for like the past 2 months? Right tool for the right job.
Yeah, exactly.
The right game for the right player.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had a few players over the years, or I don't want to even say players because a few people that want to be part of the community that just maybe aren't a good fit, because when you get to be these kind of people, and I won't use names, and I won't even really talk about many of the specifics, but the player that comes in and goes, "Hey, this is about me now." That's really the player that doesn't fit in a community very well. In almost any aspect, because anything they do has to revolve around them. And when you're in a community like this, I found out years ago that, and I know you did too, that you can't be. You played in a band, so you know that the guitar player is not the only player in the band. He's just not. The musician, the guy singing, the singer, is not the only player. He may be the mouthpiece, but without the rest of it, you're just a mouthpiece. And the same thing goes with gaming. You cannot be the dictator in charge of everything that goes on around you in a community like this. Like I have rules for the store. I have to be a dictator in that aspect, but I also have a rule that, hey, if I'm sitting over there in my chair and I'm painting and I'm being obnoxious, and if there's a DM that's sitting in here playing, that DM has the right to tell me to leave the store or shut up, because I literally don't always pay attention to what I'm doing, because I want the community to foster better than my selfish intent of me being obnoxious to say like, you guys are playing Only War, and I know Garth has done it to me. I'll be talking, Garth just turns around and ignores me, and that's perfectly acceptable, because I should, one, be aware that you guys are trying to play a game, you're serious, and I'm over there, Garth's like, nah, just ignore him, just keep playing. We need that. That's what we need. We need to understand that that's okay.
Yep.
As a player.
And in the Guff Stuff local game store, we know that, like, ultimately it's your brick and mortar store. You own the place. Right. You have the final say. But I don't feel like it's ever been the case where we don't feel like we can voice our concerns or opinions to you.
No, right.
And that you won't take them to heart.
Yeah, no, I absolutely at least want to.
Filter them.
I want to.
Consider them, And that's very important as someone who runs the store.
Right.
You might not always make what everyone would agree with is the best decision.
Oh, no. Well, I'm not going
to.
But
at least you're willing to listen to opinions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially on the side of, like, running it as an event center.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's important.
And that goes right over to online, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my name might be somewhere in the fancy color, and, the owner, because I actually had to change the color of my name because I kept getting questions from people. Who's the guy who runs the server? I'm like, hey, whoa, no one person runs the server, all right? Because I couldn't do it. It's these guys, these orange names. These are the mods. These are the guys who are in charge of the gals who are in charge of the server. It's not me. Mm-hmm. Well, but who owns it? Okay, so I'll just change my name color, so at least then people could, okay, that guy's the owner.
Yeah.
But it really means nothing. And they know that.
Yeah.
These guys know that. Like, you go into a server and there's somebody sitting in one of our channels waiting to hang out. go talk to them. They don't care. Like
Yep.
that's why they're there.
Yep.
They're just sitting there playing a game probably, and they don't mind if you just jump in there and play a game too.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be the same game.
This is one of the like fun things about Discord specifically that I've done with my gaming now.
Yep.
And it's very common. I see it all over the place.
Yep.
But we'll have 7 people in a chat room, each playing a different game.
Right.
And just like BSing and hanging out and talking. And sometimes we'll be streaming the different games so people can like watch and see. And it's to me it's the equivalent of like a LAN party almost, where like you have everybody in the room with the computer or in the room with the consoles playing different games.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of fun because you could do it remotely but feel like you're hanging out.
Yeah, and you can hang out with either friends that you made in the store or friends you made online. That's the bonus of it. It's crazy because you can literally hang out with anybody on Discord. And my favorite part is I get people that have come into the store for the years I've been here. Maybe 1 or 2 times they come through, they hook up the Discord. And now, say 6 months down the road, in fact, this is a perfect example of it. There was this lady younger lady who came in and wanted Pokemon. And she's like, "Do you have a Discord?" I said, "Well, yeah, but not for Pokemon." I mean, we're mostly a game. But I'm like, all right, we're just gonna do this because if I get new Pokemon, she just wants to know. She wants to collect every Pokemon card, right? That's just her like goal in life. So every town she goes to the game stores because she's hoping that like I had some rare shadowless cards that are hard to get.
Yeah.
I just happen to have some. I don't even know where I got them. I just happen to have some. And so she messages me here right after she got on Discord and said, "Hey, just remember, feel free to message me anytime about Pokemon." Well, okay. So she ended up messaging me. And I ended up messaging her. And it's just like, even knowing she's not here all the time, that community, it's already been built because she was in here. There was already other players in here, and she met a good chunk of people that she never met before, had no clue. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she still feels comfortable enough to post or talk or whatever, and anything. Like she knows she can do that. That's pretty cool. Like I like that.
Yeah, and it's
in our overseas friends.
And I can't stress too like how important it is to have like a framework or structure of at least an idea of some rules.
Yeah.
Too, because like the whole idea of like if someone posts something in a Discord, everybody can see it.
Yeah.
And also, if there's like a question, everyone can answer it.
Yeah.
It's a kind of collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And there's this idea that a public forum for things is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because then, like, if I host D&D at my house, and Gamer Joe and Gamer Bob get into an argument, like, I have to be like, "Look, guys, it's fine. Chill out." They won't let it go. I got to kick them both out of my house.
Yeah.
And then they might continue that altercation elsewhere. And it's like, well, how do you deal with 2 people having an issue when you're running an online community or you're running a game store like this?
Yeah. Yeah. You set up rules.
You have to have rules in place of like, first off, the DM can, you almost have a structure of command, basically.
Yeah. No, essentially, yeah. And I think it's for us. And I'm not trying to say that we're doing everything right, because obviously we're not. We've made mistakes over the years, but I think we're getting to that point where everything's running really smooth as far as the gaming community goes. Yeah,
we've worked most of the kinks and stuff out of the
DMs know that when they're here, they're the boss. Mm-hmm. They have the right to, as much as I hate to say it, they have the right to shut the store down if they want. I'd rather them keep the door open to let new people walk in. But again, you go down to the path where on Sunday we had that more adult-ish type game being played. Not like adult, like...
The game was Kingdom Death.
Yeah, the game was Kingdom Death, but it's not made for kids. It's just not a kid's game. It's,
and so you don't have a public open...
Right, yeah, it's not public and it's not open to everybody. It's a private game. Right?
A freaking 15-year-old kid walks in.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And you don't want to... it's you're almost morally obligated at that point.
But I mean, it's nice, and I think it's been working out really well. It made things go smooth, and I used the example earlier, maybe not in this one, but another. Well, I've used this example maybe in other podcasts, but I spent a lot of time being ill last year.
Oh yeah,
and the store survived me not being here, which means, one, I'm not necessary, or two, it's just been set up right.
Yeah. The structure was there that
I think it was just
things could continue to happen.
yeah, and that's all I want, man. That's literally all I want.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it to be. It's no matter what I do in life, I've always wanted things to be able to say they're going to run without me. Like if I leave and I take off and I go to Texas with my wife for 3 months, I come back, the community's not dead.
Yeah.
Like they're still here playing. In fact, I want to walk into the game store on a Friday night and see people playing something.
It's really funny to me too, because there is this tendency to be like, there's almost this mentality for a lot of people, and maybe it's just like reaffirming like your value or something.
Right.
But there's this idea that like, you hear like, oh, they couldn't do my job if I wasn't there.
Right.
Like if I wasn't there to do my job, the place would fall apart.
I think we all feel that.
And there's a sense of pride in that. But ultimately, if you have the ability to set something up so that it can run even if you're not there, that's more impressive.
That's way more impressive.
In my mind, that's more impressive.
I understood. I thankfully was blessed with this understanding of that back when I was working in a factory. I realized that factory does not need me.
Yeah,
I thought it did.
You're expendable, yeah.
I thought it did. And then stuff happens, you're like, this factory doesn't need me.
Does not care.
I may be 20 years old or 25 years old and outworking everybody in that area by far, but it does not need me.
So
that's not even important. What's important is that, yeah, anyway.
So this kind of gets to a cool, like, philosophical conclusion.
Right.
And it's the mark that you leave as an individual for something like a singular achievement.
Right.
If it doesn't contribute to community or to society, is it worth anything?
No, absolutely not. No, it's
like ultimately isn't.
Yeah,
like
no,
and it's
ultimately is nothing then at that point. Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that like you can kind of come to the logical conclusion after this whole discussion we've had that like your interactions with people and what you've done to foster and be part of a community is way more important than the deck that you've built that can beat anybody.
Yeah.
Or than the single D&D character that you talk about that you played. Like at the end of the day, try to go for those, like, step back and take a lens of like, what did we do together? Like what was interesting that we did together?
Yeah. Well, you build friendships, you build,
rather than what you got out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so much more important. Just the idea that a player will come through, help get into this community, play in this community. They leave, they move. Say, we'll use the guy from Alaska. He comes back. He's coming back for one day for a wedding. He knows that he doesn't have a lot of vacation time. He knows he needs to get his job set up there. But he's like, screw it, I'm going to take 2 days because I'm going to come back and hang out in this store one day. Yeah. Because that's how important this community was.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
It had a good impact on him.
Yeah, it had a good impact. And it's like, well, crap. I like, wow. I know we've been talking about all the good stuff. And so I guess we do have to cover a couple more subjects before this drags on too much longer.
Okay.
And this is where we lost the podcast the last time we were talking. Is talking about problem players and how we go about. We've kind of dabbled in it.
I mean, I talked a little bit about like, so we didn't talk about drawing hard lines. We just talked about like, I did the whole thing of like redirecting a player towards what their interests are.
Right.
Or for something that fits them. So are we going to talk about the player that's just does not belong in the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that a person should go over. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Hi, I want my community to be like that." By the way, just a quick side note. I've actually, this is a true story. I don't know if I've ever even told you this true story.
I
had this guy from the cities, and he was a guy, I think he was a lawyer during the day, but his passion was like playing Magic and D&D. Like that's what he really wanted to do.
Okay.
But he's a big city lawyer making a lot of money, and he calls me up on the phone one day. He says, "Hey, I see you have a gaming store in Roseau." Yeah, I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, my name is blah blah blah, and I started this little gaming store in my hometown, which is, 20 miles out of the cities." He said, "How do you do it?" He said, I looked through all your posts on Facebook, and I've kind of just done a little digging on you. I'm like, oh, great, a lawyer's digging on me. I'm in trouble now. He says, "How do you do it? How do you keep it going?" I said, "I build a community." He says, "So how many people do you have showing up for Magic?" I said, "Oh, at the time, we had that whole group."
Oh, so we were getting 20 people, yeah.
20, 30, 40 people playing 2 or 3 games of D&D. Over at the junction, we had people over there. We had people here in the store. We had 2 more rooms just loaded with people. He says, "Holy crap." He says, you guys don't even have that many people. Like, how does that work?" I said, "Dude," I said, "it just literally focused on finding people who are good for certain things." And I don't mean like they weren't good for anything else, but we'll use, you, for example, was a Magic player. At the time, you were really into Magic, and you were into role-playing games. So Magic was like the thing, right?
Yeah. And I was interested in actually making a community for Magic.
Yeah, and so
you find someone who fits
some
the bill.
that,
right?
yeah, and we found someone who fit this other bill and fit this other bill, and all of a sudden, we had the guy next door in the building next door to us. He was doing Star Wars role-playing games, and so we had people and he was doing D&D, and he was like, so we kind of just had all these people fostering a community. He says, "So how much work do you do?" I said, "Oh, I did enough work that I had to participate because I didn't want people thinking that I was there just for the money, because I don't think that's what community is really about. I think it's about building a play." And this guy and I had probably an hour-long conversation. And he's like, "I thank you very much." He says, he said, "I've been kind of banging my head around how to, he said, I've been running this game store that I have on the weekends and like during some vacation times." He said, "For like 6 months, and I can't get anybody in. The town I live in is probably 10 times the size of your town." I says, "Are there game stores?" He says, "No." I said, "Well," I just foster the community. Find a few people to like lead the charge, and make sure they're nice, friendly people that are willing to not be judgmental on the people that come in the store."
So let's give a little context, because I don't think we've talked too much. But you said small town.
Yeah.
So we live in a town that is like population 2,500.
Yeah, it's not.
There are 2,500 people in our entire town.
Right.
The nearest Walmart is 71 miles away.
Yeah.
72 miles away, so about 114 kilometers, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The people that come to game at the store come from about 100 kilometer or about a 60-mile radius.
Yeah.
So
including
if you live in a
countries.
town and you're interested in fostering a gaming community,
Yeah.
your sample size and your talent pool is so much larger than what we have.
Yeah.
I promise you that it's much larger, and it should, in theory, be easier to set up to have people come in.
Yeah.
If we can do it with this small of an area, like you just said, that guy, the town that he lives in is probably more than everybody that lives in a 60-mile radius.
It was more than our county.
More than the entire county.
Our county's 15,000 people.
And it's a big county.
This dude had twice that in his town.
Yeah.
With no game store.
Yes. And the fact that we built this community in such a large area that basically it's funny too, because a lot of them know each other now.
Yeah.
Like the people that come here in game, we got people that live 30 miles west, 30 miles east, all the way up to 10 miles on the border
on
north,
the other side of the border,
and 45 miles south.
Yep.
And guess what? They could run into each other and they would know who each other are.
Yeah.
It's because of not just the store,
right,
but the community and all the ancillary stuff we've had going on.
The funny part is I think it's so smooth now that if you bumped into one of these people, they asked about a game store, they could tell you where the game store is, but they probably couldn't tell you who started it because it's just that smooth.
Oh, it's like,
you know
it's
what I mean?
one of those, like, it's
So, oh yeah, Guff owns the store.
Yeah.
But who got it all going? I don't know.
I don't know if we talked about it, but
it's just been pretty smooth.
there was like about 8 of us total. Yeah. That really drove it.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And give credit where credit's due. I mean, people hear, we're the talking heads, right?
Yeah.
So people hear us
absolutely
talk about it. But I would say between the two of us, like, we couldn't have just done it. We needed those other 6 people.
Gosh,
Those 6 founders,
it was a lot of people involved.
And it was, not only was it just the founders that put a lot of work in, but it was also the people that were coming in and just enjoying themselves and taking the leap to be like, oh yeah, playing games with other people, let's do it. Yeah.
The person that comes in and goes, oh, I'll send my buddy from so-and-so over. And all of a sudden, a guy from Badet comes in. Yeah, I heard about this from my buddy that plays, that comes in your store off and on. Oh, cool. And then he's like, this guy teaches me Gaslands. I'd never even heard of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great game.
Yeah.
And it's just chain reacts.
And it's great because all you basically have to do is lay down your framework, lay down your rules, and just start having fun. And the community will grow. The biggest caveat I will say, and this is something to kind of keep in mind if you're trying to grow a community like this, we've been doing this for a decade, and we're finally at the point where we could probably just walk away and it would continue to run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't go anywhere.
But it's probably taken a decade to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's taken a decade. I mean, there's a lot of people I still want to. I personally think we could go more.
But the great thing too is, like, it's been a decade, but it hasn't been like we've been slogging and slaving away for a decade to do it.
No,
we've been having fun and playing games the whole time.
Yeah, no, we've been playing lots of games.
Like, that's the beauty of it.
No, it's
something that just kind of happens organically.
Yeah.
And to quote Forrest Gump, I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
There you go. That's all I gotta say about that. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's pretty amazing. I tell you what, it's amazing to build a community and be part of building a community, even if, and we're all pivotal in our own points, but it's just, if it wasn't for the rules and the stuff and I can't say that every rule I've made is because I wanted to make a rule, because there's some things I absolutely would not have made rules on before, but you have to. It's like we're getting to the point, one of the new things we're kind of trying to push on now is building an online database of frequently asked questions.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the whole communication thing, it gets to be kind of tricky with all these people from different time zones. It's like you have friends from Europe. Well, so does so does Scar, so does my daughter, and so does my son. He's got people from all over the world just like you do. Well, guess what? In Europe, they're sleeping right now. I'm assuming because it's daylight for us. Okay, well, but they're up in the middle of the night, right? It's not 10 o'clock in the morning for them.
They're about 6 hours ahead of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And like where I was from before, Guam, which we have players, the people that we have friends with are from the Asian part. I know you have some Asian friends.
Yeah.
That they're definitely in bed right now.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
And it's so this communication thing's getting out of control. And with all the different moving parts and all the different communication, I just started saying, okay, guys, instead of asking me directly and then asking, Javan or Scar or Lister each individually for different things, just post it in the Discord.
Yep.
That's where the Discord community needs to work.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
That we have so many people that we need to have, like that you literally cannot interact with every new person that comes in.
I don't know half the people on Discord anymore.
And prompt them.
Yeah, it's just like
hey, this is kind of our general vibe, our general feel.
Yeah.
It's wild that we've grown large enough that that's the case.
Yeah, it is. We just had it. We've had this new influx of people. Well, always had new influx from players, but a new influx of people from Idaho that really been interested in gaming here. And we know they're only going to be here 3 to 6 months. That's just generally the rule for them, because then they go back to school and finish up their school.
It's like an internship thing.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, go to Discord. All of them have Discord. Go to Discord And all of a sudden, you have invited people, Scar's invited people, Lister's invited people. I don't know who half the people on Discord are right now. I'm just so confused.
Mm-hmm.
But they're interacting with us. They're talking to us.
It doesn't even matter who they are at this point.
No, it doesn't.
Like, as long as they're following the rules and just having
I've actually
fun.
had multiples, go, I like your first rule. It's like the best rule ever on any Discord. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick.
It's like, it works.
Like, we're here to have fun. Like,
we're gamers. We just
ruin
want a
that.
game. Yeah.
I don't care about your drama. I don't care about your baggage.
Yeah.
I'm here to play and have fun. One of the... It's funny because I don't even call them like a best friend normally.
Right.
But there's a person who I have basically never hung out with ever in my entire life outside of gaming.
Right.
And people would be like, oh, you guys must hang out all the time. You must be best friends. You must talk all the time. No. We literally never talk unless it's about gaming.
Right.
And that's it. And he's one of the best friends I have. But, like, I didn't even, like... We never, ever, ever did anything that didn't involve gaming.
Right.
The only time we hang out is if we're going to play a game.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
It's wild to think about that.
Yeah, no.
Like...
What's your quote? I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah, I fucking hate that guy.
I'm like, wait, what?
That guy's a piece of crap. I hate him. And everyone's like, what? But you just had fun playing games with him. You're right. I had fun playing games with him.
I don't like him, though.
But I don't like him.
We just play games well together.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of hours of them.
Yeah, and it's like...
Oh, yes.
But that's, to me, like, and that's why I can, like, preach this, right? Is because, like, I practice it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that guy, we definitely butt heads.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But when we sit down to play a game, nope.
It just goes.
We're just going to play the game.
Yeah.
And that is literally, like, my mantra with this place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. I don't care anything about that.
Right.
If you're just here to play a game and you're not going to ruin the community for everybody,
come
on in.
Yeah, exactly. Come on in. You're welcome.
So, but I mean, we've droned on for quite a while now.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No. I think we've covered everything. It's a pretty good subject. I think, all in all, I said there's no perfect way to do it, and I know everybody has to do it their own way, but I think we've in our little town we've hit the sweet spot.
Yep.
Pretty much everybody that comes in is like, wow, cool. And yeah, we do get that random guy that's like, what, you're not drinking beer and smoking pot all the time while you're playing? Well, I don't want to play here.
Okay.
Okay,
bye.
well, have a nice day, bro. It's just, I mean, it's not like some of us don't do either of that.
Yep.
Because there's plenty of us that would. But we just don't do it here because it's just not what works for the community, So it works out pretty good. It's awesome.
I have nothing else to add. I just agree.
Yeah. So I'd appreciate you all, just so you know.
Shout out to the Guff stuff community.
Yeah,
we love you all.
Yeah. Till next time.